Good day. There we go. Good day. It's kind of like, what time is it? Oh, it's 7:55 p.m. here on Mont Tremblant. Do you like that? How I did that back of the throat thing? Yeah. Tremblant, right? I am in. I'm on planet Earth. You'll be happy to know. Country of Canada. Province, state, what do I call them here? Anyway, Canada. Sorry, I just had a message come through from Carrie Campbell that I won't repeat. Oh, cheers. Thank you. What's your name? So, cheers, guys. Resveratrol. Pete, I know the alcohol is not good for me. The resveratrol is, and I know I'd have to drink 3 gazillion trillion litres of this to get enough resveratrol to have a positive effect on my age whilst my liver melted down. But it's okay now and then for my... Well, hey, this is like doing it on the... what do they call it? The Blue Zones. Social thing. I'm hanging out with my FB friends. In fact, and Anne Shivers. And we've been talking. Yes. Just have a sip. Actually, can you see, before I continue, over there, whoop, so Mont Tremblant. Oh my God, there is Anne Shivers. Hi Anne. So, over here we have a ski run. You can see the village, just at the, let me get my finger on it. There it is. Oh look, a lot of love coming through. Thank you. So, and up there you've got like the ski runs, around there. Usually it's covered with ski, no snow, right? And we're just starting to lose a bit of sun here, keeping an eye on the light. It won't get dark here for another like hour, proper, because they're moving into summer. Forgiving is the name of this FB Live episode. Forgiving. Yes, it's a play on words, and it's on my FB newsfeed. I can't remember exactly from who, but Tony Robbins, and a lot of us have gone to at least one of his gigs, and I went to the first one, holy crap, 20-something years ago, and I went to one recently a year ago, and he certainly changed his style, become somewhat contemporary, and every second word is F or fuck, right? But, you know, I gotta say, it looks authentic, and he's really kind of, he's chilled out, and anyway, he was talking about basically love and loving unconditionally. And, you know, you hear about it so often, and you say, yeah, right, I'm supposed to love unconditionally. And it was the first time it really hit home with me proper, and the way he delivered actually was quite beautiful. It was really well, heartfelt delivered. It was like only 5 days ago, because they're doing the Date with Destiny at the moment, in Sydney, Australia, and he had a lady up who was there, and she was being used as the sort of example of this, and based on her experience in life. And loving unconditionally, you hear from a lot of people. A lot of people don't do it. Some aspire, and you know, some make some good headway. And I think it's like another one of those evolutionary things that really has no end. I don't think you get to perhaps the end of that one. I think you can perhaps get close. Don't know. But, you know, when you look at your own journey, and Anne and I were discussing this based on our previous experiences in relationships, you know, and, you know, it was a great opportunity to look back at oneself and think, yeah, I'm guilty of that, or I did that, or I haven't loved myself enough, and actually understanding what that means without sounding like conceited. Knowing that, you know, and I had the first glimmer of this when I was rekindling or reconnecting some, you know, family relationships around Christmas time, and compassion, and actually getting past, not fighting your ego, not judging it, because it's there to kind of defend you and for certain hurt and emptiness and whatever else. But finding enough love within yourself to then kind of sidestep or observe, I guess, the ego and act separately from it, coming from a different place, because the ego lives in the head, right? It always wants to be right, and if it isn't, then it feels invalidated, and so you feel worthless. But if you're going inside and kind of giving into it in a way, and knowing that's not actually you, it's just a protective, defensive mechanism, and you go to a different place, and you can then start to perhaps build a picture inside, starting in your head, about how the other person must be feeling, to perhaps act a certain way that you have then seen as a threat to yourself, or your ego has, and it's triggered something within you. But if you just pause there for a moment and think about how that other person is perhaps feeling, and build some circumstances around that, then you start to feel perhaps how they must be feeling, and then the compassion sort of comes through. So I kind of had my first experiences proper with that, like within the last year. But the way that, and I'm gonna put the link on here, because I think it's a beautiful delivered piece. I'm not big for everything that Tony Robbins does, and a lot of it's a lot of the hoorah, not hustle and grindy Gary Vaynerchuk-y, and I like Gary. He's hilarious, and I just love his passion and so on. But the methods, and some of the methods that Tony does, I don't exactly agree with, but some of the gems that he has, you just can't dispute. The guy is super smart. He's been doing this for longer than probably most, right? He's like the Elvis Presley of, mindset stuff. But there's some stuff there that not all of it resonates with me in the way it's delivered. But what he did in this 5 or so minutes was beautiful. It was beautifully delivered, and I hopefully will hit home with a lot of other people, because I think if a lot of us could achieve what he's talking about and the way that he addresses it, and hopefully it makes people understand it better, that the world becomes a better place, and that everybody actually within themselves starts to feel happier by loving themselves first. And doing that means that there's less emptiness within themselves, and probably puts them in a better position to be able to feel and think about the other person and how much hurt they must be feeling if they're in a situation where they need to forgive. I don't know if that makes a lot of sense, but hopefully you get a bit of an idea of where I'm coming from. So, forgiving, getting better at that one. And yeah, it's an evolution, as as I believe life is. And and I think as I said, if I look at my previous experiences, and having been married twice, and Anne's looking at her past relationships as well, and thinking, where did that play up in me, in having a look, and and not only relationships with your particular partner, but just any sort of relationship for any different kind of love, and having a think about it, be it family, or certain just friends, a partner, or a special person in your life. So I think it was quite fitting to get that message in such a lovely place as Mont Tremblant. It really is postcard picture perfect here. Some of the houses are like things you see in the movies only, or on postcards, and I can't imagine how beautiful it must be when the snow's here, and you've got Christmas, and hopefully me and my little guy Arky's very keen, because he has a Canadian come Australian now accent. He's keen to come to Canada and check it out, and have a white Christmas, and I've never had one as well, and hopefully that will be an experience we have at the end of this this year. And talking about forgiving, it's funny, and just getting back to Tony Robbins talking about how selfish children are because they're trying to survive, and how the hormone of oxytocin plays a part in forgiving your kids for whatever they do. And it's interesting how that has helped the human race survive. There's probably a bit of a different slant in you having to draw on. Oh, I guess the compassion piece is still there, but there's also something else that plays a part. And when you've got children, and that at the end of the day, there's nothing that they can do wrong or even hurt you that you still don't have a love for them. So that then connects into probably things like epigenetics and how we are actually wired from a predisposition point of view. Those things, those impulses that are there in you and are wired, but how you become more aware of those and you kind of rise above them, you see them, you feel them, and that sort of stimulus, space and response, and how that sort of distance between the amygdala, the reptilian part of the brain back at the base of the neck there, and the prefrontal cortex, is a whole lot of meat in between, which is your brain still. And that actually is what separated us from the average animal that just on impulse makes decisions. And we as humans manage to use that gap, not all of us that well, but we hopefully get better at doing that to then rise above any impulses that are there to make better decisions from the right place, right, to be able to think about them. And so I think that connects into the forgiveness piece as well, and the impulses that come from that, and when you're triggered to forgive people for certain things and expressing true unconditional love. So no rules attached. And I always used to think about, how the fuck does that work? And it does, and here I am, half a century down the track, still learning how to do that better, but that's life. So with that, I'm going to enjoy this red wine and enjoy the sun slowly going down. It's a little crisp here, but it is beautiful. There's no doubt about that. It's very quiet. You can hear the birds. Can you hear that? Stunning. All right, guys, have a great morning, evening, whatever you're doing. I know I'm going to. We'll see you on the next FB Live. Tommy G, Middle-Aged Millennial, signing off until the next one. Bye.